Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Hello?
Hello, are you an atheist?
Yes, I am.
Good. Tell me why.
It just seems to me that there's no compelling reason to believe in a god of any sorts, and that also, wait, are you defending that there is any specific god, or that there is no god that there is a god in general?
Well, my position is that the Christian God necessarily exists and he has revealed himself in a rationally undeniable way. Now, it doesn't follow, and that what you're giving are the typical atheist responses that are non sequiturs. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. In a possible world where God might exist, could he create the world with creatures like ourselves wherein he did not disclose his existence?
I would say that you could theoretically say that that is possible, but I don't think that would relate
No,
if you extend that across.
focus. Listen carefully. If I said to you, in a world where God might exist, could he make it so that some people could jump 10 feet tall like myself?
In a world
How
where
would
he
you answer
does
that?
exist, he could say that. He could do that, yeah.
Okay, now, in a world where God might exist, could he make it so that he doesn't, could he purpose not to reveal himself? Could God do that if he existed?
Yeah, of course he could do that, but that doesn't
Okay,
make it
stop,
any reason
stop,
for me to.
stop, stop, stop. Now, what you have just agreed to has destroyed your own position and you don't even realize what just took happen. Because you see, all of the reasons for God might fail from your perspective, but it still might be the case that God exists. All you're just simply saying is, well, because I'm not convinced, therefore God doesn't exist. That's a
Well,
non sequitur. Do you know what a non sequitur is? Do you know what a non sequitur is?
so do you mean like that it doesn't? I don't think that is. It's not though.
Okay, listen. How old are you?
22.
Good. Then act like a 22-year-old man and not a 14-year-old. I asked
May
you
I
a
ask you a
direct
question?
question. Do you know what a non sequitur is?
Yes.
Good. I just explained to you painstakingly how you committed a non sequitur. It doesn't follow because you are unconvinced.
Wait, may I ask you a question?
Therefore, no, you can wait on that question.
Okay.
Your position is God as an ontological reality does not exist because you're unconvinced. How does that
Well,
logically and necessarily follow?
is there a world where Bigfoot could exist? Could God have created
Okay, listen
Bigfoot?
to me. If you're 22 years old, I expect you to reason like a 22-year-old man, not a 14-year-old. Now, I
Well, you can
asked
make
you a
this argument
question.
for
If you
anything.
die, okay, goodbye, you're done. 22 years old, going on 13. Okay, we're done. I'm not having patience with this adolescent behavior. 22 years old, and he's acting like a 14-year-old. You see, when we try to point out, oh, God doesn't exist because I'm unconvinced. How does that follow?
Isn't that just a psychological descriptor? It's not an
No,
argument.
first of all, they couldn't even defend the statement that there's no evidence for God. Okay, it's really very simple. Okay, I'm going to give you one more chance, Haksaw. Don't act like a child. Now, categorically, God would be classified metaphysically as the ground of all being, the ultimate source of whatever is, can be, and cannot be. Okay? Now, you reject the notion that the value of the ground of all being constitutes God. Okay? Let's say the ground of all being is X. Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay. So you reject the notion that X has the value of what we call God. So for you, the ground of all being, the value of X equals whatever constitutes not God for you. Isn't that correct? Mute your microphone, Kaba.
So what are you trying to? So you're saying
Sorry,
that anything that
sorry.
Are
Listen
you saying that?
carefully. Listen carefully.
Okay.
You reject that the ground of existence, and we got another troll. Hey, welcome to my banhammer.
I reject the
Okay,
existence.
all right, listen carefully. I'm a little bit more educated on this subject matter than you are. You're free to disagree with me, but you need to listen a little bit more because I think you can tell that I know a little bit more about this topic than you do. Now, when you reject the existence of God, what you are rejecting is that the ground of all being, which we'll say is X, you reject the notion that the value of X constitutes God. So the value of X for you, X being the ground of all being, will constitute whatever it is that you consider to be not God. Isn't that correct?
I don't believe that X has to exist.
Okay, listen to me. Then what you don't, hold on a second. Let me just ban this person now. Okay.
And me.
I just believe that the universe could be eternal as God would be. So if you're trying to
You're
say
not.
that there has to be some,
Stop. This isn't a level playing field. You don't know what you're talking about. So listen carefully. If you don't accept that there's a ground of being, then nothing exists. Or it doesn't mean anything. There's no reason why anything is.
does it have to mean something?
You're not understanding. Every time you open up your mouth, you are predicating that things possess some semblance of actuality and consequently some intelligibility that derives from its actuality. Now, if there is no ground of being, then there is no identifiable, defensible reason as to what or why anything is whatsoever. So there won't be any, hold on a second, there won't be any talking about the sky being blue because there's nothing that dictates blueness or skyness.
Yes.
Okay? So if you reject the notion that there is a ground of being, okay, then there's nothing to speak of.
Yes, everything's subjective. I agree with that.
No, you're not understanding. It wouldn't even be subjective. There won't be anything. It never ceases to amaze me how people don't understand this simple concept. There's nothing subjective to be spoken of. Nothing means anything whatsoever. So, Hacksaw, do you believe that anything is real?
I think it's subjective. You can't
Okay.
determinately say something is real or not. You have to
Focus. Do you know how to focus? I didn't ask you. Yeah, focus on what I'm saying to you, not on your pre-prepared scripted responses of your favorite, repertoire. Now, is anything real?
You can label things, but
Goodbye. No. You're done. You're okay. You're done. You're an idiot. How difficult if I say, is anything real? And the guy has trouble answering that question.
Right.
If you ask a child this question, if you ask a 6-year-old, is anything real? They're going to look at you and say, of course things are real, stupid. But these atheist adults have difficulty answering a simple question, is anything real? Now, the point is this. See, this is why it's so difficult talking with so many atheists, because so many of them are shallow thinkers. They're extremely childish thinkers. And those who have higher education and intellect refuse to think in terms of certain philosophical critiques because it will expose the bankruptcy of their position. So that's why they engage in sophism. So I'm going to give you one more chance, Haksaw. This is not a trick question. It's not a gotcha question. Is anything real?
I'm allowed to say yes or no.
What? Is anything real?
No.
Okay, have a nice day. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. It's what you
Okay. All right. This is the level, the colossal level of stupidity that we're dealing with. How do you talk with other human beings who are this purposely stupid? Now, do I think he's stupid in his real life? No, I don't. But he's being purposely stupid. It's a little game that they want to play. They don't want to grant you anything. So they just play the contrarian game. They're like little kids playing Monopoly. They'll cheat at every opportunity they can.
A few moments later.
Haksaw, does it logically and necessarily follow because you're unconvinced, therefore God does not exist?
Wait, I wasn't listening. What did you say?
Yeah. Does it logically and necessarily follow because you have a psychological state wherein you're unconvinced of God's existence, therefore God does not and cannot exist?
I would say that he doesn't necessarily exist, but I'm not.
Okay, Haksaw, focus on the question. This is one of the biggest problems I have with unbelievers. They either purposely or inadvertently aren't focusing. Now, does it logically and necessarily follow that because you are unconvinced, therefore God doesn't exist?
No.
Okay, so you've now falsified your own position.
What is my position?
Your position was God doesn't exist because you're unconvinced.
That was not my position. I mean,
okay. So God does. Okay, so God does. Well, could have fooled me. So God doesn't exist because.
There's plenty of evidence that directly contradicts everything.
Yeah. Don't you love it, folks? Don't you love it, folks? How we just get this vague generalization. What's that?
Okay, so if you want me to critique specifically, there's thousands of contradictions within the Bible. There is
Stop. This is more childish reasoning. You're baiting and switching from global atheism to local atheism. Atheism is there are no gods.
Okay, I'll stay broad. I'll stay broad.
So tell me why God doesn't exist.
I wouldn't say from a global perspective, from like whatever you say, I would say I'd be more closer to agnostic to it. I don't think there's
okay. Well, I got bad news. I got bad news for you. An agnostic is somebody who falsely claims they're suspending judgment, but you're denying God implicitly and indirectly. You are affirming one or more propositions that exist without referencing the necessity of God, which constitutes that God can't logically coexist. Agnostics are just simply closet atheists or atheists who have fooled themselves that they're not denying God.
As an agnostic, I would say
I'm gonna explain this very simply and clearly. There's no debate over this, okay? You will either invoke facts with reference to the necessity of God, or you will invoke facts without. Every agnostic, just like atheists do, invoke facts without referencing the necessity of God. That is an informal and an indirect denial of God. You're still denying God. It doesn't matter whether you deny it. It doesn't matter whether you don't even understand your mistake. You're still denying God. Now, the fact of the matter is that you will deny God either directly or indirectly. It makes no difference. So explain to me why God doesn't exist. Because when I explain to you how God doesn't exist, I'm going to have your mouth shut. You're not going to be able to give me an atheistic response. So tell me why God doesn't exist.
So God doesn't exist because the universe could just have been as eternal as God. There's no need for God to exist.
All right. This is childish reasoning. Okay. God doesn't exist because you're invoking a figment of your imagination? Is what you just said a figment of your imagination?
As much as God is.
No, listen carefully. Is what you just said a figment of your imagination?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying God doesn't exist because you invoked a figment of your imagination. Do you realize how
Yeah.
stupid that is?
It's the same argument people make for God all the time.
No, sir. No,
if you can
that's
imagine
not the
him, he
same
must
argument.
exist.
No, you know what? I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who says that as a Christian. Now, the bottom line here is this. Explain to me why God doesn't exist, because so far what you've said, it does not logically and necessarily follow. Okay? God does not exist because.
Is there a possibility that God does not exist?
Listen to me, sir. You see, this is what all of you atheists do. You have minds of like children. You can't answer the straightforward question. You told me that you said that there's an alternative explanation. Is that alternative explanation necessarily true?
Yeah, just as necessarily true as God is.
Okay. I'm not going to continue the conversation because you're colossally stupid.
Okay, what have I said that's stupid?
Listen, you tell me you're 22 years old?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're reasoning with me like a 15-year-old.
What have I said that's stupid? Could you detail it for me
What you just said?
Well,
Don't you recall what you just said?
What's the fallacy?
You keep on characterizing the theistic position. That's a caricature. That's a straw man.
How is a straw man? Could you please explain it?
What you're saying is well, my atheism is a figment of imagination, but so is your theism. Na boo boo.
Anyways,
That's a childish response.
what are we doing
On
for
what
a date on
grounds
Saturday?
do you
I'm
say
thinking
our
we get some, like, grilled
invocation
cheese
and or the
then we
defense
head to
of
a bar
God is
afterwards.
false? On what
You know what I mean?
grounds? The
We
only
have a great
grounds you
time
have to
doing
give
that.
is you have to give an
And
atheist critique, an atheist defense. The ground of all
Why
being,
do
as
I?
far as the ground of all being, as far as you're concerned, is not God. What is the ground of all being that is the negator for God being the ground of all being?
The universe.
Okay, but wait a minute. Just a few minutes ago, you said there was no ground of all being.
Well, hold on.
Okay,
Also,
so you define the ground of
No,
all
hold
being
on
as
a
something that
second.
created the
Hold on a
universe.
second. Listen to me carefully. A few minutes ago, you told me you didn't know, or you said there doesn't have to be a ground of all being. Do you remember you saying
What
that?
did you define the ground of all being as?
Goodbye.
You
Goodbye.
X, which
Okay,
created the universe.
you're done. You're done.
Could you please? Sorry,
no.
I didn't mean to.
We're
also,
we're done.
Darth, he said
Wait a
that
minute.
he
Wait,
doesn't
you know what? This country is doomed. 22-year-olds with the minds of 14-year-olds. Here's a guy who said, "Oh, I don't accept that there's a ground of all being. There doesn't need to be a ground of all being." Now he says there is a necessary ground of all being, the universe. He just flatly contradicted himself from what he said earlier. And we're to take these people seriously, that they've solved the single most important question of human existence about God, the existence of God, and the guy flatly contradicts himself?
So he does think that the universe is real.
Is it objectively true that the universe is the ground of all being, Haksaw?
Could you define the ground of all being for me?
You know what? Goodbye. You're an idiot. Now I'm kicking you out. Now I'm kicking you out of the room.
What did you define it? Please, sorry. I did.
Okay.
You defined it as X, which is the creation of the universe, right? You defined
the necessary precondition for all being.
Wait a minute. 22 years old, and he has the mind of a 14-year-old. Do you know what it is when you ask them a question and they don't want to answer it? So they just play little obfuscation game. And no, I'm not muting and kicking people because they merely challenge or disagree. We welcome that.